Buenas and Hafa members and guests. Welcome to the Guam Chamber of Commerce virtual 2021 March membership meeting. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since the pandemic caused havoc on our way of life. We have been through one of the most trying times in our history, which has affected our economic, social, and spiritual practices and behaviors. With the aggressive vaccination plan underway, we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. For some in the private sector, they are just opening after a year of closure. For others, the gradual opening has not been enough to pay operational bills and bring our employees back. Thousands of our people are still unemployed. As we struggle to recover and bring them back to work, we are appreciative of the support of the legislature and governor for business-friendly measures that will help the private sector rebound. The delay of the minimum wage increase was a core concern for many members. This issue ranked number 2 in legislative initiatives that were important to them, second only to the rollback of GRT to 4%. Thank you to all the members who completed the survey. Your chamber leadership is appreciative of the guidance on pushing legislative initiatives that are important to you and your business. We look forward to hearing from our president, Catherine Castro, on the results of the survey later in the meeting. Your chamber board and staff continue to work with senators in the 36th Guam legislature on bills which will assist our business community recover. The next focus will be on the rollback of GRT, which has been proposed in 3 different bills before the legislative body. We are eagerly waiting for the schedule of public hearings on these measures. The reduction of this tax on businesses will demonstrate the government's commitment to lifting our island out of devastation and further invigorating the island's economic recovery through the support of local businesses. Although we understand the concern for reduced revenues for government operations, the $661 million support through the American Rescue Plan will provide GovGuam the ability to recover lost revenues and improve government services. The reimbursement of 100% of the earned income credit will mean an approximately $60 million of revenue for our government. Further, the proposed tax increases, which was the justification for increasing the taxes on businesses in the first place, will provide further financial support for government services. These initiatives will more than compensate for the loss of revenue through the reduction of the BPT by 1%. We implore our government leaders to support the rollback. Through this support of our private sector businesses, they will be supporting job creation in our local community for the thousands of residents who have suffered hardships and stress because of the pandemic. Furthermore, as employment is reinstated and businesses become healthy, the government will benefit from increased tax collections as a result of higher business revenue and employee payroll taxes. The government has already experienced reduced revenue as a result of closed business activities. While the island is receiving the additional support from the federal government, it is imperative that they provide this much needed relief to the private sector. We will need our membership to come out strong in support of the rollback. It is important that you let your voice be heard and that we work together to rebuild our economy. Although this has been a difficult year, there has been some positive outcomes. It has allowed businesses to rethink how we provide goods and services. It has fostered new startups such as delivery and shopping services, and it has caused improvements in the automation of government services. We are excited to hear from our guest speaker today, Ms. Daphne Mansapit-Shimizu, Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, on the department's technological advances thus far and those planned in the near future. We are also excited to hear from Mark Sablan, our Armed Forces Committee Vice Chair, on their activities. They have been hard at work even through the pandemic at maintaining a strong relationship with military leadership and supporting activities that will bring positive economic activity to our island. All of our subcommittees have been gearing up for their plans for 2021. Please be on the lookout for notices on virtual meetings and other activities planned. Also, don't forget to read your chamber email updates. There's a wealth of information that is shared through there. One topic of special concern that is upcoming is whether it's appropriate for places of employment to require employees to be vaccinated. Thank you all again for joining us today. So without further ado, I would like to call on Mark Sablan, our AFC Vice Chairman, to update the membership on committee activities. Mark?
Thank you, Chairwoman Christine, for the introduction. Again, my name is Mark Sablan. I'm the Vice Chairman for the Armed Forces Committee. I would like to give you some highlights of this year's activities that we've done. The AFC is working on bringing back our quarterly general membership meetings featuring our military commands. Please be on the lookout for details coming to you soon. Another event that happened with the Guam Army National Guard's Top 3 Association, hosted by the Guam Air National Guard's award ceremony early this month on March 6, 2021. The event recognized 10 outstanding men and women of their units. The Armed Forces Committee would like to thank the following member companies that provided prizes for the 10 award winners. And I'd like to give a shout out and name them. Archway Inc., Hilton Guam Resort, Hotel Nico Guam, Matson Navigation Company, Pacific Islands Club, Security Title, Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort, South Pacific Petroleum Corporation, and Triple J Enterprises. Thank you all very much for your support. The support was warmly received by all the award recipients. Overall, the Guam Guard has been a tremendous asset to our community throughout the pandemic, and we would like to send our most sincerest appreciation for all they do for the people of Guam. A shout out to the Guam Guard. Sejus Mahasi.
Hear you, sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'd really like to thank you, Mark. You stepped up and you're leading the Armed Forces Committee as Vice Chairman, and our Chairman, Phil Santos. The AFC has been working with our military commands on plans to actively re-engage with the AFC membership. And as we slowly work towards opening our island, so we look forward to hearing more at the committee's first general membership meeting very soon. So thanks again, Mark. As Chairwoman mentioned, on February 24th, the Chamber of Commerce took a poll of its members to determine member feedback on legislative measures that impact how they do business in this time of recovery and revitalization. So 20% of the total membership responded to the survey to provide our chamber leadership with its views on what is most important for government advocacy and chamber services. Overall, the chamber members were concerned with keeping their companies afloat while the island economy recovers. The top 2 concerns identified by respondents as the most important for the business community were the reduction of the business privilege tax and the 1-year moratorium on the minimum wage. 84% of the respondents felt that seeking a part-time legislature is important. There were high responses for government accountability, and among member comments, a recurring message was for a push for full operations of the government of Guam, as well as more government efficiencies. 83% responded that the threshold for limited exemptions on the BPT for small businesses was important, and that was addressed with Bill number 3. In reference to how the Chamber supported their businesses in 2020, there was resounding approval for the Guam Chamber's efforts to keep the business community informed throughout the pandemic. Survey respondents also were pleased with advocacy efforts for businesses to stay open, for getting employees back to work, and for the reopening of the overall economy. So thank you again so much for your important feedback in responding to the member survey. And speaking of Chamber efforts, your Chamber has integrated a new membership management software that takes the multiple platforms we have been using into one dashboard that syncs and manages our website, billing, and membership data. Since December last year, we have sent updates via e-newsletters to Chamber members to encourage you to engage with the platform and refresh data specific to your companies. We're so pleased that members who have explored the platform have updated their information and uploaded their logos and individual photos to personalize their member profiles. The Chamber website has a number of new features, including a members deals page, a jobs posting page where members can post positions available at their businesses, and even a members only page. Your member profile will allow you to view invoices and make real-time changes to your profile that are immediate once you hit the save button. There are a number of features on how this new platform is going to work for all of us. And if you haven't already, we highly encourage you to view, update, and engage with it and with each other. And these upgrades add to your member benefit, so please take advantage of this opportunity. And I really wanted to give a shout out to our Chamber staff, Jacqueline Tarlahi-Casil and Rebecca Delgado Mendiola, to thank them for their hard work and their efforts over the past year to move the Chamber onto this new platform. So thank you so much, Chamber team. You guys are awesome. And now, before I introduce our featured speaker, we just have a few reminders about today's event. As many of you know, if you've participated in this platform before, all participants are on mute. So if you have questions, which we're encouraging for you to do for our guests, please feel free to send them via the question feature located at the right corner of your screen, and the Chamber team will pass the messages to our speaker during the Q&A portion of the program. So on to our main event. Our guest speaker is a Guam licensed CPA with approximately 25 years of experience in accounting and finance, including 8 years in the health insurance industry. She's a graduate of the University of Guam, where she earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees. In her prior position as VP of Finance, she managed the accounting, enrollment, HR, IT, and actuarial underwriting departments. Daphne and her husband, John, will be married 19 years this year, and together they have 3 children and 4 beautiful granddaughters. She currently serves as the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Members, we are pleased to welcome our guest speaker, Daphne Shimizu. Welcome, Daphne.
Hafaday, thank you so much for that. And Hafaday to all the members and officers of the Guam Chamber. I'm honestly very honored to be here today. Undankala Nasizus Maasi as well to Catherine and Christine for inviting me. Again, I'm Daphne Mansipit Shimizu, and I serve as the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that Governor Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio have given me so that I can, do my best to serve our people.
Hi, Daphne. We lost you a little bit. For some reason, you went on mute. Right
Oh, I
there.
apologize.
There you go.
There we go. So as you can see, first I wanted to start off with giving you a little bit of a glimpse of our agency. Here is a list of all of our divisions and branches. And as you can see, it's quite vast. We have about 20 branches, depending on how you may group them. And also we have about 180 employees. And so just as you as leaders in your own organizations periodically revisit your whys, not the letter between X and Z, but your WHYSs, at DRT, we also look at our whys. Why do we exist? What are we here for? What is our purpose? Our mandated why can be found in our enabling legislation in 11 GCA, Chapter 1, Section 1103, that states that DRT shall be charged with the enforcement of the tax laws of Guam and the collection of revenue, and that DRT is also the government agency responsible for licensing and registration. This past year has been one filled with extreme challenges, and as we worked to adapt to this public health emergency, there was a need for us to work to reduce exposure to COVID-19 to help save lives, while simultaneously working to contribute to recovering our economy. Now, from a practical standpoint, what that meant for us was working to balance health and safety through the reduction of in-person services, while working to maintain that certain level of services as well. Now, given the immediate needs which were before us, we worked to allow for more services to be done by mail and Dropbox, and we have and continue to work to expand the services which we offer online. We also, because of lots of the changes that were happening, had to be able to communicate the major changes in our operations through this year so that there was information that was easily available and accessible to be used as a guide for our people. And so in just a little bit over a year ago, we issued our first COVID services series. And, of course, at that time, we didn't contemplate that by January this year, we would be up to volume 10. Part of our work to help to contribute to the recovery of our economy was in the processing of stimulus payments, both EIP 1 and 2. This is a basic timeline here on this slide that shows what we did for EIP 1 in this last year. And I wanted to highlight that from May 10 through May 13, 2020, over 50,000 payments totaling about $96 million was processed. And those monies within that very kind of short time frame were released into our community. To go into a little bit more about EIP 1 and 2, here's to share some of the information on how much we had paid out. Now, as of December 31, 2020, we had paid out 85,122 EIP 1 payments that totaled $151 million. And as of March 19, 2021, 75,331 payments totaling about $79 million was processed and paid. This is over $230 million that was released in less than a year. As part of our efforts to address our people's needs, in the driver's license branch, we developed mail services for driving permits, and we allowed for certain renewals and replacements of Guam driver's licenses and Guam IDs to be done by mail and Dropbox. In addition, we also allowed for individuals to convert driving permits to intermediate licenses and intermediate to full licenses as well by Dropbox and mail. In the area of vehicle registration, we work to promote online vehicle registration renewals, and we've allowed for mail services for disabled placards. And we have had great success in the area of vehicle registration. I wanted to share this slide with you to show that from fiscal years FY 2017 through FY 2020, we saw online vehicle registrations grow from just a little over 4,000 to over 26,000. And we can see that there is definitely an increased trend in people utilizing online services, because as of January 2021, that was only about 4 years into this fiscal year, we were already at about 26,000 vehicle registrations being done online. So that's almost the level of what we saw in the entire fiscal year 2020. In the area of business licenses, I want to go back a little bit further to 2019. During 2019, in that year, we worked to revive the single stop concept for business licenses and permits. We worked for DRT members, we worked to put additional team members at the Business License Permit Center. And that was so that for those business licensees or those individuals who try to get business licenses, if there was a tax clearance issue, there was no longer the need to do what had been done before, where if you had a tax clearance issue, you had to come to DRT in Barrigada. Now in 2020, what we did was we worked to revamp our new business license application and to allow those applications to be received by mail and Dropbox. And so in the past, where you had to physically come to our agency to submit new business license applications, we made it so that you didn't have to. And of course, this was hugely important because there were periods during this public health emergency where we were not able to open to the public or where we had limited accessibility. In the area of income taxes in this year, what we did was expand the e-filings of Form 1040s so that individuals with dependents and those who had wages over $100,000 and those who claim certain basic credits and who received and are reporting unemployment income are now able to e-file. Also, we're excited to say that this last January, we were able to begin to make income tax refund payments by direct deposit for the very first time. And also something that we hadn't announced, but what had gone into place in this last week was the launching of a Check My Refund portal. So now, of course, our people are able to get onto our portal and to check the status of their income tax refunds. And again, this is hugely exciting to us because this is the first time that we've been able to do these two things. And I wanted to show a little bit about just kind of where we've been in terms of e-filings of Forms 1040. Now, we did work to expand the 1040, what can be filed on the 1040 in this past year. But if we look at this, this chart, what we see is that for tax year 2019, we saw our numbers that were hovering around 800 for tax year, in tax year 2018, we saw the numbers hovering at about 800, and in the next year, we saw the numbers go up to about almost 2,000. And for tax year 2020, which is now what we're receiving right now, as of this morning, we actually received exactly 3,000 Forms 1040, so that were filed online. And that's exciting for us because we're only about a month and a half into our filing season. Now, in fiscal year 2021 and going into fiscal year 2022, there are some important items to note. Of course, we did in this month launch the mandatory online filing of BPT, and that was mandated by Public Law 3599. Also, in conjunction with that, we made some security adjustments to our website so that for all of those people who file on guamtax.com, that they had to go through a re-registering process so that the EIN or social security number is no longer utilized as the login for those portals. Also, as part of the American Rescue Plan, we see, and what we're looking forward to in this coming year, is round 3 of stimulus payments. I know people are excited about that, as well as the enhanced child tax credit and the reimbursement of our EITC. So for over a year now, we've been immersed in adapting our lives to be able to continue to fulfill our mandates and to serve our people while living in, and thankfully now, hopefully recovering from, this public health emergency. Our goal is to continue to operate and have some level of functionality while balancing out the health and safety of our people, not just our people, our employees and their families, but all of our people who come through our door. And we believe that we've been able to accomplish quite a bit. However, we do recognize that there is still a lot of work that needs to get done to get to where we want to be. We knew that when we began to apply the Dropbox and mail-in concept to our services, that it wasn't perfect, but we also knew that it wasn't the end game. But at that time, we knew we had to adapt so we could continue to provide the services that our people need. And I'm thankful to the DRT team for their continued commitment to serve. And I'm proud of them for not being scared to try new things and for not being afraid to not be perfect. Again, we do know there is still a lot of work to do in the area of modernization, and especially in the development of organizational resilience. And in this coming year and in the future, what we are working on is making sure that we continue to modernize, update our systems, move more services online, and work on process improvements so that we can identify efficiencies and, again, help to make the experience with our government agency much better. So in closing, I wanted to share something that my mom would say to me a whole lot, although it's slightly paraphrased. She'd say, "Daph, shoot for the stars, don't shoot for the ground. And if you shoot for the stars, you may not hit the stars, but you might hit the moon. And if you don't hit the moon, then you might just hit the sky." I think that at a very basic level, she was really basically trying to teach me about standards. And I believe that over the last couple of years that we've been here at Rev Tax, that we've worked to try to make sure that we work to develop as high standards as possible. And our team and our administration have an unwavering commitment to progress, to making improvements in what we do, both within and outside of this public health emergency. And we are confident that we are going to be able to get where we want to be. And with that, I just want to again say Situus Maasi for having me here today.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Daphne. We have several questions that have come on the chat. So we're going to provide the questions as long as you can stay with us. So the first question that we have is, are there any permanent plans for a larger campus for revenue and taxation and/or physical decentralization of departments?
So what we're doing right now, and of course we've been in this building for a while, and we recognize that during this public health emergency, it was challenging to operate in this in the building that we're in. Our deputy director actually has been tasked with and is currently working on just identifying how we might be able to continue to work in this building, and then also looking at different options for how we might be able to become more efficient in our operations, whether we continue to have all our agency branches together, or we decide to decentralize. So those are things that are currently in the works and being discussed right now, but we don't have any final plans to share with anybody at this time.
Thank you. There are many services put online with improved ability to pay obligations online. What other services are planned for adding to online services for the departments?
So as I mentioned, we have been working on trying to modernize and upgrade our systems and provide as many services online as possible. Some things that we have to look forward to in this year, we're expecting, and again, of course, Governor Leon Guerrero did mention this during State of the Island. She talked about enhancements to our business license process, and that's something, of course, that we're looking forward to, because we would like for the opportunity for people to apply for business licenses online. And so that's something that we're working on. Also, something that we're working on here that's part of our Rev Tax services is looking at putting our driver's licenses and our Guam ID renewals online. So that's something that in this year as well, we're going to be seeing. Our programmers are actually working on that now. I've been working with the Office of Technology to make sure that this happens and gets turned around as quickly as possible. So those are probably two of the larger ones. And of course, continued expansion of what we can file online, our Forms 1040, that's huge for us. We saw, and our goal is, to kind of replicate the success that we saw with the vehicle registration. We saw vehicle registrations go from just a little over 4,000 online renewals to over 26,000 at FY 2020. And this year, as of January, we've seen that probably 75% of the renewals have been being done online as of January. So, if we can continue on that track, we believe that, of course, one, it's going to be a huge success, not just for us, but for our people who don't have to come in here. So again, it's going to be the expanding of the 1040. It's going to also be putting our driver's license services online, and as well as moving our business license system also, so that there is an online application.
Super, that's exciting news. So as a result of the pandemic, many DRT's critical services like driver's license and car registration have fallen behind. Is the department now at full operations with all employees working full-time and on-site? If not, approximately what percentage have returned full-time to work physically at the department?
So right now, all of our agency personnel are here, 100% of them, unless they're on leave. And so we do, I believe at one point we did have some level of, I guess you call it teleworking. However, we stopped that completely, I'd like to say a couple of months ago. And so so we're all here right now.
Ms. Daff, I think,
yes.
Can you take a look at your webcam and your audio? We lost you for that answer.
Oh, Can you see me now? I'm sorry.
Now, and I can hear you now.
Excuse me.
So
It
sorry.
could be maybe it goes on screen save. So I
Oh,
apologize. So I could
okay.
probably is going to screen save because I'm not moving my cursor. But as I mentioned, basically what it is we are all here. We do
Mhm.
not have people that are actually teleworking at this point. Our whole agency, all of our agency personnel are here, and we did require everybody to come back just, I believe, a few months ago. We did have an alternating work schedule, which we had in place for a few months, I believe from September until around December, when there was, because that time there was a challenge with regards to, that's the point where we saw a lot of cases. And so, but again, all of our agency personnel are here and they report to work every day, 8 to 5. And in fact, some of them well earlier than 8 to well after 5.
So currently DRT is open to the public from 8 to 12 noon with an additional 7 a.m. hour for NUMCU services. Has the department had any discussion on extending work hours or increasing the number of days open to the public so that the backlog created by the pandemic can be addressed?
Absolutely. So we have several kind of plans in place so that we have a kind of a phased-in plan in place so that we can work to reopen. As you know, part of our challenge has been that for driver's licenses and vehicle registrations, because of the number or the volume of people that we see come in, it's difficult for us to serve them all here at Rev Tax and Barrigada at a single time. And that's why, if you'll notice, our services currently are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have driver's license, and then Thursday, Friday, we have vehicle registration. As part of this phased-in plan, the first step is going to be to move out vehicle registration. Our team has been working on this for a little bit now, and I'm hoping that we can get this done quite soon, at least maybe in early April. And so once we're able to get vehicle registration moved out, then that would mean that both driver's license and vehicle registration walk-ins can happen Monday through Friday, and we don't have to have alternating days for that. And I think that is probably our number one thing that we're working on right now that's going to make a huge difference in terms of our ability to serve our people. Our team has been discussing with me. In fact, even this morning, I got a call from one of them about, of course, moving to kind of shifting our efforts. And as you know, this past year, because of the federal funding that has come through Guam, we did have to work on, releasing or other processes that we don't normally have in place, and so that we can get out EIP-1, get out EIP-2. And now, as I mentioned, because March 19 was the last day for us to pay EIP-2. We're now pivoting. We're going to be working to process 2020 returns so we can get those payments out, as well as rebate recovery payments, so that for those people who may not have received EIP 1 or 2, but are going to be able to receive it in their 2020 return, so that those people can get paid out. We're also working with IRS and the Treasury to complete our discussions on the implementation of EIP 3. And then immediately after that, we're definitely going to be working with them to discuss how the child tax credit, the single year adjustment to the child tax credit, is going to work for Guam and the territories. And then pivoting to discussions on the reimbursement for EITC, which again is hugely important for our economy and for our people.
Great, good stuff. So we've had like 3 or 4 of the similar type questions. So are there plans to implement more online transactions, such as for the payment of tax refunds and stimulus payments by direct deposit? And are there like, so similar to this question, when are you going to receive or be able to have accept ACH or do bank-to-bank transactions? And what timeline does the department have on this type of implementation?
Okay, so with regards to direct deposits for refunds, we already, for 2019 returns, we began paying refunds by direct deposit in January. That was the first time, I believe, in our history that we've paid refunds by direct deposit. Because those bank accounts are in our system already, my understanding is that for those people who had elected to do direct deposit for their refunds and who are due a rebate recovery credit, or whose EIP 3 coming up is going to be, for those people who have elected to do direct deposit, we're going to work to try to make those EIP payments to them by direct deposit. And again, it will be dependent upon which return we use. If you recall, EIP 1 was based on a 2019 or 2018 return. There was a substitute year that was allowed. EIP 2, there was no substitute year. It was based on 2019 only. Now for EIP 3, there is a substitute year, so it's based on a 2019 unless you have a 2020 that's already processed and filed. So again, depending on which return is used, that will dictate the possibility of us being able to make payment by direct deposit. But we're already doing direct deposit by direct deposit of refunds. That's something that we actually had been working to put in place since like summer last year. Again, we just had not announced it. We wanted to test it out and see how it would work. With regards to ACH payments, that's something that, of course, has come up as a question, especially as we've been trying to move a lot of our services online. You know, there's a lot of questions from our businesses and from taxpayers about, since we're moving these things online, will you be able to allow us to pay by ACH? I have been in discussion with Director Byrne from the Department of Administration, and it's my understanding that he has been in discussions with our banks as on that matter, and so that's more of a DOA initiative. But my understanding is again that is an item that's discussed and is in the works.
Thank you. Let's see here. How can DRT assist the mayors and GPD in identifying the last registered vehicle owners of junk cars left on the roadside?
Okay, well, thank you for that question because, you know, we have, and we're grateful for GPD for being out here with us and assisting us with our efforts to, you know, manage crowd control and then also manage the traffic here at Route 16. As you know, it's been very challenging here and the traffic here is quite busy. I actually had a discussion with one of the Highway Patrol officers here about that because, of course, as you know, there are times when there are abandoned vehicles that are on the side of the road. I know that the Highway Patrol themselves have had questions about how do we address that. For example, if it's found that the owner of the vehicle is no longer on Guam or they're not able to find them. And I think that there probably has to be additional discussions on that. You know, with regards to the providing of the information to our law enforcement already as it stands, our law enforcement agencies do have some level of access to our system so that they can determine who the registered registered owners are for those vehicles. And, you know, of course, you know, it's been very important for us that we work to be partners with all of our agencies and with our mayors who have been hugely supportive of our agency as well. So, you know, whatever we can do to help that with that effort, we definitely will work with them on that.
Thank you. Are there any plans to implement a manned help desk? It's very difficult to call into the department and get anyone to answer the phones. The service would be greatly appreciated by the public, most especially for those who are not able to use online services.
And thank you for that question, because what we have done here at Reventex, and we know and we recognize the challenges that people have had in trying to call us, we have identified, and it's been a little challenging, obviously, because our team members are playing dual roles, where we're outside working to kind of manage crowd and see how we could do services outside. And when we're out there, obviously we can't be inside and answering phones. So it's made it a little challenging for us to be responsive in that area. So what we've done is we set up a mini call center a few weeks ago so that we can help with making sure that calls are answered. In the first few days that the call center was up, it was a little bit challenging. I know, just to share, I've actually answered calls myself, and I could, the first day that I did it, I was basically like answering and, you know, getting off the phone, answering, and it was, I had mentioned to somebody that, you know, when I'm on the phone is ringing behind it. And I did a little bit of a calculation, and it was like maybe for one phone number, we were having about 20 calls an hour. That means that's like one call every 3 minutes. And again, behind that, that means that there's calls that we may be missing. But we have worked to, you know, again, dedicate people to answering our phones so that we have we are able to serve our people better. And we're continuing to work to try to expand that effort so that we can have dedicated people who are answering phones. And also that helps because then that helps to relieve some of our processing people who are processing returns, people who are also helping with doing certain tax. We do courtesy tax preparations for our seniors, our individuals with disabilities in Menumco. So when we have people who are dedicated to that type of effort to answer phones, then we have our team members who are able to focus on their specific efforts. So we're continuously looking at that. We're continuously looking at ways to improve. And again, what we're hoping to be able to do is to have a permanent call center so that we can, have people, again, being able to call in and not have as much problems when they make their calls here.
Thank you. So another question is, will Revenue and Taxation consider implementing the amnesty program for at least 3 months?
So a few years, well, of course, we saw amnesty, I believe, in tax year 2018. Usually amnesty, and my understanding based on my discussions with my team, is usually amnesty is not done. You try to allow for amnesty. You try not to make it be too frequent. And so, we haven't discussed the possibility of amnesty at this time. I think that, what we have tried to do here is to be really thoughtful in this past year about how and where we could give certain consideration. I think if you look at our volumes 1 to 10, you'll notice that there were periods where, of course, we waived late fees. We definitely did that in the areas of driver's license, vehicle registration, even in the area of business license. And so, again, what we try to do is try to be as thoughtful as possible in that area. We do recognize the challenges that people have with trying to pay taxes. And, since 2019, even pre-COVID, we have encouraged people who owe taxes to please come in because, we're here to try to work with you. Not only is our job collections and enforcement, what goes along with that, which I think is even probably more important, is helping people to come into compliance. And, especially as business owners, the one thing you probably don't want to have to worry about is your taxes, right? And I know that stresses a lot of people out. So again, in terms of amnesty, I think that, amnesty as a tool usually isn't done you try not to do amnesty so frequently. But again, from the perspective of our agency and carrying out our mandates, although we are a collections arm and we are a regulatory arm, our job is also, to make sure that we serve our people, that we work to try to help them the best that we can. I was asked a question earlier about whether or not someone who has an outstanding tax balance is able to renew a business license. And I mentioned to this person who asked me the question, I said, yes, you're able to renew your business license as long as you can get a tax clearance. Tax clearance doesn't necessarily mean that 100% of your taxes are paid in full at this point. Tax clearance can also mean that for those people who may have tax balances that we're able to work out, of course, based on a review of your financial situation, we're able to work out some mechanism for payment that is going to be able to allow you to continue to do business, to continue to put food on your table and to help and take care of your families. So again, and I hope that answers that question.
Thank you. Another question is, to renew the driver's license, it's up to the end of the year. So are there opportunities that people will be able to take advantage of to renew this year instead of towards the end of the year? This is again in reference to driver's license.
Sure. So with regards to driver's licenses, as I mentioned, we do have walk-in services from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and that's from 7 to noon, where we have, of course, priority time from 7 to around 9 is for our individuals with disabilities, our Menumco, and our veterans. We will be moving toward trying to do driver's licenses 5 days a week. What we have been doing, even though we have limited capacity, is even on now, what our supervisor has been doing, what he's implemented, is a system where when people come, we really try our best to not turn people away as much as possible. We want to make sure that we serve, and so although we have a cap, we do our best to try to reschedule people or to have them come back later so that we can try to get them in, because we don't want people to have been waiting here for so long and then not to be able to get the service. So that's something that we've implemented already. Again, as I mentioned, one of our big efforts in terms of modernization is moving our driver's license and our Guam AD application and renewals and replacements to be done online. Again, that is definitely going to happen. We're confident it's going to happen before year end, and we're working on that effort very heavily right now.
Thank you. So can Revenue and Taxation now collect the 4% use tax on every online orders going through the U.S. Postal Service in Barrigada? Do you know how much goods and the dollar value comes from online sellers go through the U.S. Postal Service that Revenue Taxation can collect to generate more revenues?
Okay, and thanks for that question. So with regards to the issue of use tax, of course, there was a public auditor audit a few years ago, or in this last year, that was issued. And we at RevenTax, you know, we are a collection arm, but with regards to use tax, the law actually states that it's customs that is mandated to collect the use tax. There are actually a lot of challenges with the current use tax law, and these are things that I have also shared with our legislators. With the use tax law, there is the issue of the exemptions, the $1,000 a month exemption with a $5,000 an annual cap. That's something that is very difficult to address. With regards to the use tax, also something that makes it a little bit difficult, I think, especially on the customs side to collect, is the fact that with regards to any shipments that come in, those air shipments that come in cannot be held for non-payment of use tax, although I believe that seaport shipments can. And so for airport shipments, or shipments that are, I guess, mail that comes, items that come through the mail, it's a little bit more difficult to address the issue of use tax. What I believe is going to be very critical in helping us is to be able to also get a use tax system that is also online. The current system is a completely paper-based system. What happens when customs receives a shipment is they have of course, the shipper will fill out, or the person who's shipping the item will fill out a use tax form. And that use tax form, if taxes are not paid on it, those forms are transmitted to us. We enter those in our system here so that we can send out notices to collect. And so I believe that it's going to be very critical, one, that we get a system, an actual computerized system, so that we can work to make sure that we're able to manage the collections, and I think that will be very critical as well, and key for customs as they work to manage exemptions, because the 1,000 a month cap with a 5,000 a year cap, the 1,000 a month cap that is 5,000 a year, I guess, maximum use tax exemption, is really difficult to manage when we're not able to determine how much somebody is shipping. And of course, it's collective across all types of shipments. So, again, with regards to the use tax coming from the Postal Service, from USPS, we have met with the postmaster in the past about the potential of us trying to collect from those use tax from that, but that's something that's definitely still needs to be worked on.
Thank you. Another question: if you file your 2020 tax return taking the credit for not receiving the second stimulus check and subsequently receive the second stimulus check, do you amend the 2020 return, or is there an alternative protocol?
Okay, so actually that's a great question, because we're going to start paying out rebate recovery credits. If you have filed your return already and you have indicated that you are due you due an amount as a rebate recovery credit, but then you subsequently receive it, our system will flag it, and we will not pay that additional amount, because we will not pay a duplicate payment on that. However, I do want to share that the opposite piece of it, though, is if you file, and perhaps, I guess that probably won't happen because you will know that you receive it or not. But anyway, so the opposite, if you've received it for some reason and you need to adjust to, if you haven't received it and then you don't include it, then that might be a problem. But if you have filed and then you indicate that you have received it, but then you I don't know if you can kind of get, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost in my, again, you will not have to amend it because our system will flag that and you will not receive it twice.
Okay.
Apologies for that.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, how can a new business license be issued for real estate sales agent who has passed their exam and have received their class certificate completing the required courses? Can this business license be applied for online?
Okay, so business licenses cannot currently be applied for online. We do have the form BL01, which you can find on our websites, guamtax.com or myguamtax.com in the form section. So you can go ahead and fill that out. I believe for real estate licenses, not only does that go through the normal business license process, but also our insurance, securities, banking, and real estate group has to also get involved. And I believe there's an application for that as well. So again, perhaps on the real estate piece, I'm not as familiar as with the regular business license, the non-real estate. Again, that's only because we do have a specific group that deals with the issuances of the licenses for the real estate license, but we do not have an online process. Again, that's something that we're working on right now.
Okay, so this one is a little long, but I dropped off 2 annual report for 2 companies in the first week of February, along with the payment. But as of today, the check has not cleared, and I have not received the stamped copy for my record. How accountable or reliable is this Dropbox service?
Okay, well, I can definitely say, in fact, I have our team constantly working to make sure that there's accountability in our Dropbox. How it works, and just to kind of give you some level of confidence in what we do, what happens is on a daily basis, we do have a team that works to make sure we open our Dropbox. Our Dropbox is actually locked. So with regards to access to the Dropbox, there's only certain people that actually are able to access it. When we do take the items out of the Dropbox, we have a team that goes through those items. We actually log those items. We make sure that because we do have to basically triage them, we go through them, make sure we identify which branch those documents are for. So we make sure that all of those items are listed out, everything's accounted for, and that we transmit those documents to the branches. If you have an issue with regards to an annual report and a check not being processed, that's really our business license branch that will need to be contacted. You can email us or you can call us, but we do have in our volume 10, we do have email addresses there, or you can always go to our contact section of our website, and there is a little place where you can indicate, you can send us a message in our contacts section of our website.
Thank you. Is anything being done to improve DRT's records so as to improve the tax clearance process? Too often, people seeking clearances are told that they have not filed returns when they actually have, sometimes year after year, for the same months or years.
Thank you for that question, because, as you know, I've only been in this position just a little bit over 2 years. And prior to this also, I worked for the private sector. And these were challenges that we saw and questions that we had as well, or I have had and dealt with when I was in the private sector. In terms of tax clearance, we are working on making sure, as I mentioned, one, I think improvement that we saw is that for tax clearances, we made it so that our collections branch can clear all tax items. So again, where historically, if you went to the Business License Permit Center, or even when you come here to Rev and Tax, if you had a tax clearance issue in BPT, you had to go to BPT. And then if you had a tax clearance issue in income tax, you also had to go to income tax. We made it so that we have empowered our collections team so that they can actually clear both income tax, BPT, and also regular collections for outstanding taxes. In terms of working to make sure that we do not require clearances for something that is already in the system, that's something that, again, I think and this is why I think Public Law 3599 is hugely important to us. And it's not, I think that there was a public auditor audit that came out a few years ago, which mentioned the backlog of our BPT returns. And that, of course, I think that is why, with regards to, the online filing of BPTs, that's going to help our team to be able to get caught up. And so we believe that once we're able to kind of get those things going, where we have things online, you know, the hope is that we will not continue to request for people to provide documents if we've already done so. So again, it's, you know, a lot of it perhaps is due to our backlog, which we're working to address, and, you know, and we hope that those things will not continue.
Thank you. So the governor signed Bill number 1 into law, which waives the business license fees, and if you've paid it, and it becomes you know, credit, right? And then it's retroactive to, I believe, October 1. So how will the department be implementing this?
Okay, so I believe that Bill 1 became law in, I think, around March 5. And what our team has done, there's a few things. Of course, we had to update our system so that way, when people renew online, that they were not charged the business license fee. That's one. Also, with regards to the issuance of business licenses in face, or in, you know, using customer-facing services, what we have done is we have worked to develop a system so that where historically, when you would get a business license and we would print out the printout from our dot matrix printer, you would go to the treasurer, you would make your payment, you would get the stamped copy. And now, because the payment is no longer required, we've changed that process so that our team at BP and Business License stamps your business license and then goes ahead and initials it. And we're working on further trying to enhance that. But with regards to the way it would work, my understanding is if you've already paid for your business license, because this is retroactive to October 1, 2020, my understanding is that it's a credit at this time, and that, of course, this is a 2-year, I think the exemption is for 2 years, or the waiver is for 2 years, from October 1, 2020 through, I guess, the end of the fiscal year 2022. And so there will be no business license fees that are assessed at that time. With regards to what can be applied against or that credit can be utilized for, that's something that I think our team is going to have to further discuss, again, because it's a little bit new to us.
Thank you. In these difficult times, the community appreciates the waiver of the credit card fees, and we are wondering whether we can look forward to it continuing.
So with regards to the credit card fees and I guess the calculation of all of those items, those are really, I think, DOA, because they take care and are the agency that is managing the credit card and the banking relationships. That's something that DOA does work on and calculate. With regards to, of course, the issue of online payments, and when we, you know, Public Law 3599 is the Budget Act. In the Budget Act was where the mandatory online filing of BPT was addressed, and that's where it became law. Prior to Public Law 3599, there was another bill that was introduced in the 35th legislature where which would mandate the online filing of BPT. However, that particular bill, of course, didn't become law. When we did provide testimony on that particular bill, we did advise the legislature at that time that the issue of online filing, you know, is just one piece of this all, and that it's going to be important not only to address the issue of the online filing, but of course to be able to address the issue of the payments that's associated with the online filing. You know, I know it's been a huge priority of Governor Leon Guerrero to make sure that, most especially during this time, that the credit card fees have been waived, so that, you know, for those individuals who are paying online, and again, because we're encouraging people to pay online, that those fees are not being charged. And as I mentioned as well, in my discussions with Director Byrne, we have talked about the use of ACH payments so that people will not have to worry about paying credit card fees, but can pay in another mechanism. And so, you know, I don't have an answer as to whether or not those credit card fees can be continued to be waived. I do have to say, though, that we have, you know, weighed in on the importance of addressing that issue. And so that way, again, we can make the full experience of being able to move things online, you know, a lot less cumbersome for our people, because, you know, to file online, to be required to file a BPT return online, but to not be able to pay online because you have a credit card fee, you know, and so you end up having to take that so that you can make a payment at the Treasurer of Guam, may not be the most efficient way or mechanism of paying and of and may not be as efficient for our people. So again, we have weighed in on that, again, and we believe that that is an issue that definitely needs to be addressed.
We appreciate that. Thank you, Daphne. And I know that we're coming up on the 1 hour time, and I know that your time is very, very precious, and it's, we truly appreciate the time that you've given us in answering our questions. We have a whole bunch of questions left. And so what we're going to do, and I hope you don't mind, Daphne, is that we provide these questions to you via email. And then, when you have some time, if you can respond back, and then we'll provide these the responses back to the folks who requested who put the questions in the chat feature. So thanks again to all of these are wonderful questions, and I think that everybody really appreciated you're being so candid, and again, all of the we truly appreciate all of the hard work, Daphne, that you have provided in your tenure at Revenue and Taxation. It's truly appreciated. And we have seen a whole bunch of improvements, and so and we're looking forward to more. And if there's anything that we can do as a chamber to support you in your efforts, obviously when we all work together, right, we make things better for everybody. So again, thank you so much, Daphne. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you so much, Christine, and thank you again to the Chamber. And you're absolutely right. You know what? I really believe in synergy, and the idea that 1 and 1 doesn't have to be 2. 1 and 1 can be 10. 1 and 1 can be 100. And so I really believe that us working together to, of course, will be so hugely important as we work to try to make sure that we take care of our people. And again, thank you so much to the Chamber. Thank you so much to our people. And again, if there's anything that we at Rev and Tax can do to try to help our people, absolutely, please, Catherine and Christine, let the Chamber members know to, you can share that with us as well. Again, thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.
Yeah, likewise, we really appreciate you, Daphne, and of course, we're looking forward to more technological advances at the department. Mirroring what Catherine said, we've seen a lot of improvement, under your tenure, and we thank you and the hardworking people at DRT for implementing that. And so, we look forward to more great things from you and the department. Thanks so much for spending your morning with us.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Okay, and with that, we are adjourned, members. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the support that you've given our chamber, and please read your email updates and check in with our committees when the announcements go out on their activities, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, girls. Bye.